How the hell you doing, YouTube? Today we're back with a brand new video. So today's video is going to be us skimming another Artex ceiling. Now this Artex ceiling isn't as heavy of a pattern, so we're just going to be mixing straight skim. And as you can see here, we have the GoPro, so we're going to have some POV. Now because this ceiling was so small, I actually did record me putting it on, basically the whole process from start to finish. But because the ceiling was so low, there was a lot of the footage that was sort of too close and you couldn't really see what I was doing. I fiddled about with the settings and sort of got a better view, but it still wasn't the best. So what I'll do is I'll put some clips of the POV, and most of the clips will be sort of what you're used to. You see there the tripod, the phone on the tripod. So you can see in that very first bag of skim that I emptied into the bucket, there was about 4 handfuls of cement. So I have 3 buckets of water in here, and that basically mixes about 2¼ bags. So that's what you see me do, put 2 full bags in, and then about 1/4 of a bag with 2 or 3 handfuls of cement in it. And this is basically, when I'm on stilts, this is the way I mix with the bucket up on a crate. It means that I can actually reach the very bottom of the bucket from the stilts. And it's the easiest way I found. Like, you could put a spot board up in the middle of the room, but it then stops you from being able to run the ceiling, which I don't like. You have to, after you've mixed your skim or whatever, you need to take the spot board down, where this way you can see here it's in tight against the wall, it's not in my way. And if this was a smaller room and I was going to be skimming all the walls as well as the ceiling, then I would have it sitting in the center of the room directly under the light, because basically when you're walking the ceiling or when you're coating, you'll always be standing facing the light, which means the bucket's going to be in front of you and not in the way. You can see here the Artex ceiling, and then there was and this patch isn't actually that old, but there was a leak here at some point, and they came and patched it, and they've repaired where the water damage was, but they actually tried to stipple the new plaster, which was absolutely terrible, and it all cracked because they didn't fix the cracks that were there with skim. So you can see I just put like a line of skim, and then I lay my scrim tape into it. It's a good way to get your scrim tape to stick to a ceiling, especially if it's even if it's like just a regular ceiling that's already plastered. A lot of the time, most of the scrim tape isn't very good, but even when it is good, sometimes it doesn't stick, and it's just annoying. So I would do this, put like a little line of skim, the length of the crack, put the tape on, and then just trowel back over it. The only other way that I would do it other than this would be if I was like setting up the day before and I wanted to get all the cracks taped. I would use my claw hammer and my stapler, and I would staple one side of the scrim tape. I would pull it out till the other end of the crack, and then I would staple it and then hammer the staples home. So that's the way I would do it. You see there the GoPro's in my head, but you can see like it's almost touching the ceiling, which left a really crappy angle. when I fiddled about with the settings, there was like a extra wide setting or something, which I just pulled it further down my head, so it was like just above my eyes, and then put it on the wider angle, and it was a bit better. It wasn't the best, but it was definitely a bit better. When we're doing Artex ceilings, we want to make sure that our first coat almost completely covers any of the high spots on the Artex. Again, we're not scraping this off. If it's sort of heavy enough texture where you're going to scrape it off, you're going to need to bond it. But this is like really fine, so we just skim it. Just 2 coats of skim. You see like the little trowel marks and stuff where it's hitting the texture underneath, but it's okay as long as it's covered. I can hit it, and then we bring it in from the angle and we work the whole way around the ceiling. So I'll always start in the right hand corner of the window wall, and the reason I do that is because if you can see there on the right hand side in that corner, I always bring that angle out first, and then I run the ceiling from that corner till the other side of the room, the whole way across that wall. You should always run your ceilings that way. There's people that do it the other way, but I think it's probably, it gets you the best finish, to be honest. So I always run it that way. Now, because this was all going to be done in one day, so basically I'm straight on again with it's the same skim, but I'm straight on with a second coat. I'm not really taking any time to flatten down the ridges because the stuff is still wet. So when you come on with your next coat, especially when it's wet, you're not really going to worry about the ridges because they're going to flatten down with your trowel. Most of the time, I would advise definitely to, before you start second coating out of the same bucket, flatten down any of these big high spots. But this stuff was way too wet. If I had tried to flatten it down, I would have left sort of the similar amount of lines, the same amount of lines on the wall, just in different places. So that's why you see me just go straight on with the second coat. The second coat is just slightly thinner. So the first coat, I would say, was probably about 3 or 4 mil. And then the next coat's just slightly less than that, so maybe 2 to 3 mil. And because this stuff is all out of the same bucket, it's still soft. So we're good to go. Like, if you were, like, because there's cement in this, I know it's going to go pretty fast. And if I had sort of went and flattened the ceiling, it might have given it a chance to set on me. That also, it being still wet, so yeah. I have a lot more videos coming with the GoPro, so I've already shot the next one, which is sort of like a day in the life, but also we're doing some patching and skimming a window wall, so that's going to be the next one. And then I have a fireplace, like making a fireplace good for a fire, and blocking up a fireplace, and then a few patching jobs next week, so I'm actually going to wear the GoPro to them as well. So there's more sort of GoPro videos. I might probably do I'll probably do another day in the life. I just want to take this opportunity to ask you, if you're enjoying this video, to go and have a look in the description. I have a few links there. There's a buy me a coffee link. It's basically, you give me the price of a cup of coffee. You can go to the Patreon where you actually get content. So you get an extra video a month. You get videos, shout outs, stuff like that there, and it's cheap enough. Or, which is the best way to do so, is click on the Amazon affiliate links. Every affiliate link is a link to a tool that I use in these videos. You click on the link, you buy the tool, and I get a small commission. If you don't buy the tool, but you go on to buy something else at the same time you've clicked the link, then I get a small fee from that as well. It's it doesn't cost you any extra, and it supports me basically. So I appreciate you had a wee look anyway. Yeah, so you see here now, I'm going round, because none of these walls are being skimmed. I want to be super careful to clean any snatters off, because I don't want it sort of hardening in the angles, or it would make it look really crappy. And you can see I started from that corner and I pulled this edge out, and then I go back, and you'll see I'll walk the length of the ceiling, flattening down the plaster. And that's basically what I mean. I go from there till the other side of the room, and I always do it this way, always against the light. It's just the best. It's the way we were taught, but it's also, I feel like it's the best way to do it. We're just getting it nice and flat now. You still see like we're obviously just flattening the plaster, but you can still sort of see lines and bumps and stuff. And a lot of the reason for that is because the coat underneath is still slightly wet, maybe slightly too wet, but it doesn't make a massive difference, because it's all going to get took off with the next trowel anyway. So the next trowel you see me doing is the cotton trowel. I've explained it to you a million times before, but it's going to be nice actually getting a bit of a close-up. So you can see here I've brushed the ceiling, and I'm using plenty of pressure and just walking the length of the ceiling. You see like there's a bit of fat also on the trowel. That's all the skim, all the lumps and bumps and humps all coming up. And it's a good method. You can see here, we'll go again, you can see the brush marks, and the pressure on the trowel is just taking any of the lumps out of it basically, and it leaves it nice and smooth. I want to definitely do more videos of like me troweling up like this, sort of big ceilings and big walls, so that you can actually get a proper good look. We always brush our angles out too, to make sure that there's no holes or no build up. And you can see there, like it's mostly took all the bumps away. There's a few little bits and pieces, but we'll get them with the next trowel. The next trowel is the main one. It's the one that gets it perfectly smooth and flat basically. You always take a bit of time just to trowel around your life fittings, because a lot of the time that's where it's going to look shit, is around these life fixings. And then you can see there we also have our bucket up in the crate that's gets us enough height where we don't have to jump up and down off the stilts to get to our water bucket. And you can see like this is, when you see me brushing the ceiling, this is what I do. I wet the brush, and you see we're agitating the surface of the plaster. We're doing it just enough so when we actually run our trowel, we can take the high spots off basically. I had someone say it's sort of like sponging, and it is a little bit like me sponging the wall. It is sort of a similar process, only you only do it a little bit at a time. So anybody that's sponged knows sometimes you can sponge a whole wall and it'll get away from you, and then it'll be hard to get the sponge marks out, where this way it's never going to get away because you're only sort of a couple of foot ahead of yourself. And yeah, basically that's just cutting it. I actually never done it this way until I started working for a guy. It was actually a few years back. Like, I would have used and this is basically me showing you what I was doing there from sort of the corner of the room. So what you're watching is what I just done. I actually learned this from a guy. I would have actually troweled the wall up probably about 5 times. But with just one trowel. I was one of them people that never believed in getting, 10 different trowels to do, 10 different things. But after working with this guy and actually using the system that he had, I changed to doing it. It actually is really good. You can see it's a bit further away, and you can see the change in the plaster where it's like really ripply till the right hand side of the light, and then it's smooth the other side, and it'll only get smoother again with the next trowel. Just when we get after this stage, then we're going to do our flexi trowel, and I've got some close-up footage of the flexi trowel as well. And then if you really wanted to, you could probably come back the next day, or when it's completely set, and give it a trowel up with like a rubber trowel. My old fella does that, but I don't see the need. All it really does is shine the plaster, and most of the time people don't want the plaster shined up, especially painters don't not like you for it. I had a message from a guy that was asking, he was saying that he was using crates. He actually uses hop-ups and crates for skimming ceilings. I just want to know how many if you actually use hop-ups or crates. I couldn't do it like like just using a crate for getting tops of walls when you don't have a ceiling to do. Like, my legs be dead for days after. So here we go again. This time you can see we're agitating the plaster, but it's not actually doing much to the surface. We're basically just bringing the fat to the surface, and it's just to give us a little bit of, to make it sort of slidey, so that our flexi trowel doesn't make the plaster tear. You can see here it's actually starting to set. You can see the sort of the dark spots on the ceiling where it's setting, but the plaster has to be pretty far on to use a flexi trowel, and this is just a little bit too early. But you'll actually probably, I think you see in it in this clip here that it actually it does tear a little bit. It's not much, but if you ever do get a ceiling that starts to tear on you, the thing that you want to do is either come off the ceiling, take your watermarks off, and then get down off the ceiling and let it set another bit. If you're like me and you didn't have enough time, or you just need to get the ceiling done, the name of the game is just to put as much water as you possibly can on it, and that completely stops it from tearing. Sometimes you can definitely get it on it too early with a flexi, and it's not something that I've really talked about much on this channel, but you can get on it way too early, and it's not a good idea. Like if you're flexi the ceiling and it's turned, there's a good chance that you're putting waves in your ceiling, because if it's turned, it means that it's still too soft to be taking that much pressure. And you will get sometimes when you're doing a ceiling, there'll be like 99.9% of the ceiling's fine, and there'll be a small bit will turn on you, and that's completely fine. If it's just a small bit, it means that that bit just hasn't set as quick as the rest of it. So tear away. But if every stroke your ceilings turn, you need to change, leave it for a bit, basically. So you can see again, we're doing the same thing. This time, instead of sort of rubbing the ceiling left to right the whole length, we'll walk one way with the trowel, and then we will we'll trowel the angle out this side, and then we'll turn around and we'll walk back with a brush on the ceiling. And then again, this is just another shot of me from the corner, doing the same thing as you just watched me doing the video, basically, that last clip. We're gonna walk the ceiling. You can see like it's smooth and flat, and then your flexi is the thing that just gets it completely flat and smooth. The reason it does that is because the metal is so thin in the flexi trowels, it bends under pressure, and the bend of the trowel actually puts sort of more torque on the edge, on the blade of the trowel, and it gives you more, it lets you get more pressure down. A rigid trowel, before we had flexis, like a rigid trowel at this point, you would have been putting immense pressure on your trowel, and trying to walk with your trowel, with your arm locked out in front of you, and it was hard work finishing plaster with just the single rigid trowel. With these flexis, like it's just made life a million times easier. You see here, just again, we're working around the light switch. We're just making sure that it's nice and smooth. And you can see like how much ease that I go around this ceiling with. And as I said, like, you would have put a hell of a lot of pressure on this if you had been doing it with just a standard steel trowel. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you've enjoyed, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, which is massive. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. If you have any thoughts or comments that you want to share, please feel free to do so. I would appreciate it. Yeah, check out the social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything, TikTok. Go and check it out. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.